Hey everybody, welcome back. Welcome back to Generation X Nation. Hit the like and hit the subscribe button. We're going to go over everything, all things Bell Collective and real quick Hard Hustle Houston. But before I get started, thank you to everybody who has subscribed, who has left a comment, who has shared my channel. Definitely appreciate it. It does not go unnoticed. All right. And with that being said, I have to do this disclaimer, and I hope people are paying attention because every content creator does this. Okay. Everything on my show is alleged, in my opinion, and for entertainment purposes only. Alleged, in my opinion, and for entertainment purposes only. All commentary is done based on week to week episodes. All right. With the understanding that these episodes are edited and some things never make the TV screen. So we can only commentate on what we see. At least me, I can speak for myself. I don't know about other people. I don't play internet detective. I don't do any of that. I just look at the shows and give you my honest opinion of the scene and what I think may be happening. But that doesn't mean that is what's happening. Another thing to keep in mind, as far as I'm concerned, I am fair and balanced over here. I may like somebody this week. I may say Portia did a great job, and then the next week I may say Portia crazy as hell. It just depends on the scene of the show. I don't know these people personally. I don't have a dog in this fight. Okay? I really don't. But because they are public figures who decide to show their lives on TV, then they open themselves to the scrutiny that they get. I try to be as nice as possible to people because I can only imagine being on these reality TV shows and what they must go through. But that's the risk they take because they want to be famous or rich or whatever the case may be. Okay, I don't make money off my channel. I am not monetized, nor do I ask you for money, right? I have not asked you for money so far at all. There may be a day when I want to monetize and try to push, but for now, I'm cool with what I'm doing. My small following, I do it as a hobby. I'm not asking you for anything right now. Okay. So with that being said, I don't have a dog in this fight. So it don't make me one way or another. Who's the best person on the show? Who's the worst person on the show? I'm telling you what I see as a person of a particular age who's been living long enough on this planet to have seen a lot of this BS before. At the end of my commentary, I would tell you why I said all this, okay? Because there are some people out here who are super, super fans of some shows. I don't know why. All I know is when I open up my electric bill or go online and pay my mortgage, only name I see on there is mine. I don't see nobody else's name. So whether I like them or love them, they're not putting no money in my bank account, so the numbers don't move. So it don't mean that much to me. But I do support everybody. And we'll talk about that again at the end of the show. And y'all probably know what show that is. That has probably the most defiant, toxic fans for whatever reason. I don't know why, but they do. And we got to stop that. We really do. I don't even bother nobody, to be honest with you. I love everybody. I'm like Carlos King. I love all the girls. It don't, it don't matter to me. But anyway, let's just get started with Bell Collective. And this is real quick because it wasn't a lot to see. Bell Collective basically was consisted of Letitia and Glenn's situation, and then Carrie and Matt and her mama Eleanor and Matt's mama Marlene. Isn't that funny? Matt mama got the same name as what's that? Martell Ho's mama Marlene, and she just as crazy as. Okay, we'll get started. Okay. Also, they talked about Latrice and the baby situation with her and Glenn. I mean, her and Cliff. But let's get started. We're going to start real quick scene with Marie. I'm not going to be in particular order, but Marie and her date. I think the date went well, but after sitting there and watching him talk to Marie, I don't think the spark was there. She may do a second date, but he ain't the one. And I know last episode, last commentary I did, I said that was the right guy for Marie because he was age appropriate. He's a very handsome man, and he has a decent job. He seemed basically the perfect cat match for her. But just watching him talk and interact, and then he's singing to her, I didn't see a spark. That was my thing. I just didn't see a spark. And then he said something about I love your makeup. I don't even know men who say that. And she let him know my face is flawless without this makeup. Good job, Marie. I understand that. But again, I didn't see the spark. Okay. So let's go, excuse me, where they started off at with with the ladies sitting down and Letitia leaving the scene to get in the car and call Glenn immediately, while Selena back there saying, "Don't tell him I told you." Why? Because you know, if you told Glenn that if she tells Glenn you said something, Glenn is gonna go tell Mike, and Mike gonna get in your butt. You should have kept your mouth closed. Now, for some reason, Letitia gets in the car. She calls Glenn up and talking about, you talking to a divorce attorney about getting a divorce, and he's like, I talked to an attorney, asking him what a postnup was and then what would happen if we get a divorce. He is absolutely right. And she talking about, well, I found out after the fact. This is crazy. Not only after the fact, but while you're out of town, you didn't come and talk to me about it. Letitia, you just said Glenn was out of town and you arguing on the phone. And we know Glenn got a history of cheating. You set up a recipe for disaster. You done piss that man off. You go to the bar, have a few drinks, and bought it off. You know what I mean? But Glenn said you did the exact same thing to me. And for some reason, that flew over Letitia's head, and she act like she didn't hear that. You know, like, we don't talk when you get back. Meanwhile, Selena and them in there saying, well, if it's a divorce attorney, it's, he needs to know and she needs to know. And I'm like, but isn't this the same exact thing that Marie and Latrice mentioned that you actually did to you got mad at Letitia for doing to you when she knew about allegedly the baby that Mike's supposed to be having out there in them Jacksonville streets, and she was in front of your face and did not tell you, and you got mad at her. Then she was in your face helping you plan your wedding, and you knew about it and didn't tell her, but you went to the girls in the collective first. Exact same situation. It doesn't matter what the topic was. It is the actions in which they're comparing it to. Because y'all trying to say, oh, it was divorce, that's different. She's not talking about the divorce. She's talking about you told them first and didn't tell me, which was the same thing, Selena, you got mad at Letitia for, telling the group without coming to you about the baby. That's all I'm saying. Okay, and Mike, you better stop pillow talking with Selena, because you see how this turns out when you do that kind of stuff. Um, Again, I do believe the girls took it too far. He said he went to see a attorney, a divorce attorney, but the lady wasn't a divorce attorney. She was an attorney, but she told him about how things work in divorce. And I think when y'all relayed the message, it got down to he went to talk to an attorney about possible divorce, whatever, to it turned into, by the time Letitia got the message, you trying to get divorced from me? This is how mess starts on these shows, especially in girl groups. Nobody ever relays the message correctly. Now let's talk about Cliff, Latrice, and Latrice's mom, Gloria. They're sitting there in the restaurant. Look, Cliff, she's trying to convince and beg this man to allow her daughter to have a baby. I ain't seen such shenanigans in my life. You're sitting here, Cliff, she wants a baby. You need to let her have one. Why are you in it like that? And I get it. That's your son-in-law, and she needed you to. Why is Latrice telling her mother to ask her husband to let her have a baby is beyond me. And I know at the end, her and Cliff did discuss it, but that was just crazy to me. And so Cliff is like, look, he said, he said, I've been asking her for a child for over 10 years. And he's right. In the beginning of the season, he wanted a child, but Latrice wanted her career. So that came first. He said, now I'm just tired. I'm trying to travel and see the world. I ain't trying to clean no diapers or anything like that. And she said, but just one, just give her one. Again, why is your mother begging your husband to allow you to have a child with him? That's just creepy to me. That's like mother-in-law overstepping, but maybe that's it. He said, I'm not trying to walk around Disney World with no kids. I don't know what y'all don't get about this. Cliff do not want children at this point. And I think he may do it because he loves Latrice and he see this is becoming a deal breaker. But if he does it, it's going to be grudgingly. Okay? It's going to be grudgingly. Just my opinion. All right? He said, okay, maybe one child. Let me think about it. I don't think he wants the baby, but I don't think he wants to lose his wife. I think we'll talk about it in the last scene. Okay. Carrie, Matt, Marlena, that's Matt's wife. I mean, mother, Matt's mother, Marlene, and then Eleanor are sitting there having this conversation. Now, Carrie has told Matt these people came unannounced, but we heard her in the beginning say she asked her mother to come over because she knew Matt's mother was coming over. And she was just sitting down saying, "Hey, when are you gonna start spending time doing stuff for my son?" And she's like, "I own $3 million businesses and I'm an influencer." And she said, "Yeah, and you're always gone." Well, I mean, you can watch the kids that I'm going, I'm doing all of this for your son. And I'm like, and his Matt mom is sitting there like, I mean, but you're not here for the kids. And I get what she's saying, Carrie, you're going to miss the fact that you missed out on a lot of the kids stuff. You do need to maybe tone it down some, maybe hire somebody to pick up some of the slack with your businesses and spend time with your children. But I digress. She said, you're living your life for four other people. Now, this is what Miss Marlene is saying. Carrie feels like, and I get it, because I get the vibe that Carrie say, yeah, I got a family. I got that picture perfect, uh, four kids and a dog, white picket fence that American dream about. But she's like, that's not enough. But the image looks good. But I need to get out here in these streets and make this money. And I get that. She said, I'm not your typical wife. And she said, I'm not going to sit here like you did, because I guess Matt's mom, from what they say, was a stay-at-home mom. She not trying to be that. And I get that, Carrie. Be your boss, be whatever. Okay. But also at the same time, if it's taking so much energy out of you, you might want to cut back on some hours and do spend more time with your children and with Matt. Because even Matt said you're gone too much. Now you're telling her Matt's gone half the time anyway, because he's out doing this and out doing that. If he out making the money, then slow down a little bit. Don't you got managers for these businesses? You can just FaceTime and talk right at the house and see what's going on, and maybe do a visit once or twice a week, and then schedule the visits when you need to be there to see, and then schedule some time when you need to make sure you don't miss any of your children's events. I don't know. Carrie just seemed very, very bossy to me. And for some reason, I don't think Matt's mother, and just is just my gut instinct, and I could be 100% wrong, but I don't think Matt's mother was really happy with Carrie and Matt getting back together, because she said we done broke up, got back together, broke up, and now we together. I don't think Matt's mother, I think she loves her. That's her daughter-in-law, and that's the mother of her grandchildren. But if she had to pick somebody else, I don't think it would have been Carrie. I think she would have picked a more traditional lady. Nothing's wrong with what Carrie's doing. I'm just saying that for somebody to say, oh, you all don't want women to work. No, I think Carrie is doing an excellent job running her careers. But I do understand, as a person who work, it does take time away from your family and your husband. So she got to start figuring out how to balance that and stop being so defensive. I think she's very rude to Matt's mom. Just my opinion. That's all I'm saying. Because his mom asked her straight up, what are you doing for my son? Now, is his mother too involved? We'll get to that on the last scene. Yes, too involved. But remember, Matt called her up. Now we talk about Marie, Tambra, and Latrice. They talked about Marie's date and all of that. Everything went well. And then they got on Latrice about, when are you having this surgery? Get your health together. And Latrice is really dead on having a baby. And we are so happy for Latrice. But Cliff can disregard that, because according to them, Cliff already got 5 kids. That's why it's no big thing to him. And ladies, side note, sidebar. This is what happens when you marry these older men and you don't have children, and they already have children. They're not wanting to change diapers at 50 and 60 years old. I'm not saying all of them, but there's some of them out there. You see what Cliff says? Cliff said, I want to enjoy my life, basically his life, and travel. I ain't trying to be no diaper changer, clean up after no messy baby. Latrice is saying, I'll get a nanny or whatever. But this is what we be talking about. We're not jealous of you because, oh, you old bees jealous of us young girls putting your men. No, we not. Because that old guy, he don't want kids. And if you have a child by him, more than likely you're going to be doing most of the taking care of the child. See, the younger guys your age, they will help you change a pamper, or help with the kid get up at night, help you with the feeding. They may take the kid in the car with them for a day or two, ride him around in the park. Old dudes ain't doing that. So you'll be married and a single parent at the same time. That's all I'm saying. And I hope Cliff changes his mind and give this girl what she wants. I'm not saying don't have babies. I'm not saying have them when you young. I'm not saying don't date an old man. I'm saying you have to make sure when you date an older guy that he really wants kids. And I understand he tried it 10 years ago. He said, hey, this kid to be 10 years old. I tried it. She didn't want to do that. Latrice, you was trying to get your life together, get your businesses together, but you had a husband 10 years ago that was willing to support you. You probably should have went on and had that baby and then let your village help you out and you could still got your business going. Because now you in a dilemma. And I hope Cliff don't hold her from being able to be a mom. But let's get back to this conversation. The conversation was good. Like I said, Marie was worried about her health. You worried about a baby, but you got blood clots, and she's right about that. That's a very serious issue. Then she asked Tamara, can she babysit her baby for practice? And I think Tamara's like, I think Tamara may let that baby stay there for an hour because you talking about can a baby go in the whirlpool? You know how hot the temperature is in the whirlpool? Come on, Latrice. And then she had to go Google it. Yeah, I'll be scared to leave my child with you too. I'm just saying. And let's talk about the last but not least, Letitia and Selena, they had their they had their conversations about the whole mic thing and all of that. And I understood everything that Letitia was saying. Selena, I gotta call you out on this one. You probably shouldn't have mentioned it. And I know you didn't mention it intentionally, like, but it just kind of came up. But you didn't mention it with the intention to cause her any harm, but you should have known that it would. And we'll leave that back there. Matt and Carrie are sitting there talking, and I'm sorry. Carrie said Matt's mom is coming over. She called me to she said she's coming over. So I called my mom for reinforcement. And this is why I said I was waiting to address that because in this thing, she said they came over unannounced. Now, Carrie, I'm not saying you wasn't very forthcoming with the truth, but in the previous scene when they was coming to your house, you said in the confessional that his mom had called, said she was stopping by, and you brought your mom in for reinforcement. Then you say they both came unannounced. If they called you before they got there, it's not unannounced, Carrie. Just my opinion. Matt needs to put his foot down. Look, I'm sorry. She needs to put his foot down with Carrie. Now she said you need to tell your mom she need to stop doing this and stop running her mouth. You need to stop running to your mom and telling her stuff. I just seem like this marriage for me seems a little one-sided. It's all about Carrie. And then she threw a dig like, well, maybe she was drinking at the time, or no, or something like that. She said something about maybe she shouldn't drink. And then she said Matt said, did you give her a drink? And then Carrie said she bought it. And then they showed his mom sipping her little drink. I'm like, your mom out here drinking like that? This thing called DWIs, but I'll leave it alone. Um, she said, we both have high demand jobs that takes us away. Your mother's traditional mom. And Matt said, hey, my mother was a traditional mom. She stayed at home while my dad worked and she raised us, cooked, cleaned, all of that. Nothing wrong with that. I say that all the time. Nothing wrong with that. If you got a man that's willing to take care of you and you know he ain't going nowhere and you don't have to work, knock yourself out. But the thing I have issue with Carrie is Carrie over talks Matt. She tells him what she gonna do. She got such a smart, condescending mouth when it comes to talking to him and his mother. And I don't know if she's doing it for the camera, but it comes off so arrogant and disrespectful. Even if you're doing it, um, in a low tone, because you can still, just like they were saying about Huntsville, I forget the content creator that was said it, but you could still be disrespectful in a low tone. And the way you talk to Matt, well, I'm gonna do what I gotta do. And then you talking to his mother, I got three businesses. What do you want me to do? I work for your son, work to get me back. Your tone. You ain't got to scream out loud to be disrespectful. Again, this could just be for the TV cameras. They may get along behind the scenes. But if I'm sitting there and somebody talking to my mom like that, I don't care how long they've been married, and I'm sure that lady loves her daughter-in-law. But it seems to me that this disrespect been going on for a long time because although she loves her, she got some type of different feeling for Carrie, and you could see it. It comes off on the screen so easily. Um, and with that being said, Carrie, you might need to just tone it down some. God, I'm sorry, you make your husband look bad. It looks like Matt has no control of his household and he's supposed to be the man of the household. You want the whole world to know you a multimillionaire with three businesses and you an influencer and I take care of the household. You act like Matt don't do nothing. And from what I can gather, he was a professional baseball softball player. So some of your wealth comes from that. He travels half a year because he's still in that industry doing things. So you're like, well, you're not at home. I ain't saying traditional marriage. I'm just like, Carrie, tone it down just a little bit. Okay. And last but not least, we're going to talk about Cliff and Latrice. Cliff and Latrice, they're sitting there. She's doing the fishing. They're sitting down there in the at the little lake, and she starts the baby thing again. And I felt so bad for Latrice in that moment. And again, Cliff, I don't know if you're joking or not, but your wife really wants a baby. You say you love Latrice, then you give her that child she wants. Cliff has let it be known, I'm not changing Pampers. You may need to get a nanny. I don't want no kids, and I may have an operation done to prevent me from getting children. And Latrice, I think that hurt her. She said, no, you're not going to do that. And he's like, I don't want it. I don't want any kids. I have 5 kids already. Once again, you have 5 kids. She doesn't have none. And if something happens to you, those are her stepchildren. Those are not her biological children. She wants something that represents you and her for for generations to come. Hopefully she has twins. So you can have two in one pop. Maybe you should go to one of the fertility clinics, Latrice, and get you two since he wants to be wants to be like, I don't want no kids, give him two. Okay. And he was telling her about the conversation with her mom, and mom said she'll retire and help. And then he was like, oh, well, we gave her a retirement party and she still went back to work. And he was right, they did show the party. But I just feel like Cliff, he's like, I'm at the age where I want to travel. I want to see the world. I'm not trying to raise no babies. I told you 10 years ago that basically that door is closed, that window of opportunity is closed. This baby ain't coming no time soon. That's what Cliff is telling her. And for whatever reason, she's not picking up what he's putting down. Okay. She wants that baby. And I think as a husband and a married couple for over 10 years, apparently, you need to give that woman the baby that she wants. You need to make sure, because if it was the other way around and you wanted a son, I want a son, I want a son. You guys know how to make women go to all of these fertility. Look at what's going on with Shmi and her husband. Fertility clinics, injections, all this stuff you're doing just to have that baby. If he really wanted a child by her, he would be taking her through everything to make sure she has that child. And she would be putting her body through everything to have that child. But now that she wants a child by you, it's like, that's crazy. That is crazy. But if he came to Latrice and said, hey, I want a baby, I want a son, I need you to birth me a son, she would be at the fertility clinic getting shots. She didn't mean to have that surgery. She'll be putting her body through all kind of medical strain and stress to produce a child that he wants. But when the woman tells you she wants a child and you don't want one, then you just like, I ain't doing nothing. And then she said, hey, if I go she said, I'm going to have a child, even if it's by somebody else. He said, oh, if that's the case, me and Glenn going to be best friends because we're going to be seeing the lawyer together. Really? He just telling her he's not ready to have a baby. I don't get it. She said, so you want us to be just like Letitia and Glenn cellmates? And he said, Glenn going to be my best friend. I'm just like, she said, you can go ahead and follow Glenn off that cliff. And she said, he said something about, she got up and got pissed off, and she said, F you. And he said, well, if you're not effing with me anyway, because if I do that, that's how you make a baby. Cliff, that was so freaking stupid. That was so stupid. Okay. Latrice, I get it. You was trying to build your business, but you probably shouldn't have waited 10 years later. But we can't tell women when they're ready to have a child. That's their decision. Cliff, that is your wife. Through sickness and the health. Okay. And if she wants to have a baby, you are obligated as her husband to at least attempt. Now, if she can't conceive, you can't say you didn't try. But that girl wants a child so she can have something on this earth to leave on this earth other than her businesses to create her generation. And you need to go ahead and allow her to do that. And if you don't want to participate in the hard part, the bottle making, the diaper changing, the bathing, the babysitting, then don't. Like she say, hire a nanny and bring her mama over. It can be done. But I know once the baby get here, I'm absolutely certain Cliff will love the baby to death because he's a good guy. He just play hard to me. That's my take on it. Cliff, get that child a baby. Selena, you were pretty wrong. You did exactly what to Letitia that you didn't like done to you. And that's all I'm gonna say about that. Moving on. Oh, last thing, Carrie, bring it down a notch. bring it down a notch. The way you disrespect your husband, and I'm sure he's a good guy and y'all made him feel the disrespect, and maybe behind closed doors he check you. But the way you disrespect your husband, the camera's rolling, and I hope it's not just for to create a moment or a scene for the show. You got to stop that, because I don't know who looking at that thinking that you respect your husband. I'm not saying you don't respect him. You just shouldn't talk to him or his mother like that. But his mother is a little overbearing. I'll leave that alone. Okay, let's get back to Heart and Hustle Houston real quick. Basically, on this one, they finished up the therapy. We have all determined that it is a lack of communication. Labrina did apologize to Latoria about how she was feeling and how she treated her. Labrina deflected a little bit, like she's going through some stuff, but she don't feel safe telling them what it is. We need to know what it is, Labrina, so we can at least have some compassion for you as viewers. But for right now, I think Labrina, I think the whole group, like the lady said, was just miscommunication and lack of communication. So they seem like they left there on a better foot. Um, Elena and her mom were in the kitchen talking about Josh and his separation. Elena seems to be very happy. I think this was a what they call it, a weight off her shoulder, off her back, leaving Josh. She probably wanted to do it years ago, and she finally got the courage to do it on this show, because once you show your business on national TV, you're going to get a big supportive a group of supportive women that's going to say, "Girl, leave him. You can do this on your own." And I think that's what she needed, because now she don't even show up for any of the functions that women are showing, and I hope they call her out on that. But for now, she seems like she's happy, and she says she's definitely gonna keep track of her money this time. I don't know what Josh gonna do. Um, let's talk about I'm sorry, Ro and Labrina had a great conversation. And it seemed like Labrina was saying sometimes success changes the way people see you. I think once again, that narrative about y'all are not above my level, I think she felt like because she's a little more successful, maybe than some of the other women, that they see her differently. And she's telling Chloe that. And she was like, y'all, you need to pick a team, whatever. And Chloe's like, we're not picking teams. We want to be moving as a unit. I like that. Because when you pick teams like the people down there in Huntsville, then you have division and you can't film together well because you're always fighting. So Chloe's like, we can get together as a collective. We don't be needing to pick a team. She doesn't want that. She wants the friend group to stay together so they can support and help each other. I definitely appreciated that. Ro and her daughter, that particular scene, about the father, I was a little nervous about that because she's a baby, and for you to bring that to the for the world to see, it's cool having your child on, but saying like I sent my dad a birthday wish and he replied back to me, I guess it's too late, da da da. You should have sent it on my birthday, and you could see the hurt in that little girl's eyes. I don't know if you should have aired that, because I think what's going to happen is like a lot of these men out here, they're gonna go down to the courthouse and flag you from, showing their children on the show. And I know the little girl probably makes a little money doing it. You make money having her on the show. Don't If you're gonna put your children on the show, make sure you show them in a good light. Because I don't know who your ex is or how petty he is, but we done seen this happen from Basketball Wives to the Housewife franchises, down there to Love and Marriage, whatever. You piss some of these exes off, and they will be like, "I don't want my child filming." And because it's two parents, and the other parent has a say so, the judge would agree with him. So I think it was a bad idea to have your daughter on there to discuss the whole birthday thing, because it puts the father in a bad light, and he's probably pissed that you did that. All right. Um, the last thing two more things. One thing we'll talk about is Chloe. I'm sorry, Chloe and is it Josh Jordan's mother? Chloe at that lady house. That mother is maybe a little bit too much into her son's business. I'm not saying she overbearing, but she had already picked out her daughter-in-law, told Chloe, "I don't like anybody else he bring around. You are it. Ma'am, you don't get to pick that. You're not the one that's going to be married to her. Let that man put a ring on the finger and say, 'I do.' But it's nice to be cordial and respectful to her. But you have already told her that if they don't stay together, anybody else he brings over here, you're not going to take a liking to." Chloe, get out of his mother's house. And I get it. You said you lost your mother in 2019. She's like a replacement for you. But in the words of Jordan, she's not your mom. It's good you have a good relationship with your future, allegedly mother-in-law, if y'all do get married. But I think you're crossing boundaries. And I think you're still mourning and hurting the loss of your mom, and you're trying to find a replacement. And fortunately, this lady is the replacement because she's nice. She may remind you of your mom and certain traits your mother, had. And maybe that's why you clinging to her so desperately. But you got to keep in mind, if you break up with him, she's going to side with her son one way or another. She probably would still like you and stay in touch with you. But if he decides to date somebody else down the road, if y'all don't make it, and we hoping y'all do, that other woman ain't gonna want you coming around visiting his mom. It's just kind of weird. I think you're just out of line for that, Chloe. Now, the last thing we'll discuss is the vision board party. It's a nice event. A lot of people showed up. I agree with Chloe. The venue, you got people on the stairs and upstairs, on the upper level and on the stairs doing vision board. I understand what Labrina was saying. She didn't think it would get this big. So the venue, they oversold. The venue was too small. And Chloe is trying to tell her and the other ladies, even though there's people upstairs and on the stairs, you need to be interacting with them, treating them just as special as the people down here on the first floor. Because yes, they're gonna do a rating of your event and say it was terrible. I was upstairs, she didn't come talk to us, we didn't get no food up there because you said they weren't even serving anything up there. You should have made sure that happened for those people who were upstairs. You should have interacted. You should have went up there more often than downstairs to check to see if they're okay and apologize and say, hey, next year I have a bigger venue. I didn't think I would sell that many tickets. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know, it must have went viral. So that's why we were in this small space, but I appreciate it. Hell, you got money, go buy them all a drink and take it up there, or buy them some finger food or whatever. You could have done something to make them feel that they were part of the group and that their money was well spent, and do appreciate that they came there. Because like one of the ladies said, I forget which one, she said, hey, they paid the same amount of money for their tickets as these other people. And I get it. Some, color people come on color people time. Maybe they was a little late getting there, so they didn't get the bottom stairs, but that shouldn't be a big thing. You still should have took something up there to them and made sure they were comfortable up there. If I would have had to pay the waiter staff extra money to go up there, that's what you should have done, because you're the boss, right? And you got all of these businesses, and you got this big ranch and all this, and you influence what is she owns a spa and all this stuff. You should have made sure those ladies was comfortable, because the last thing you need is a bad review from some black women who ain't feeling it. And that's all I'm saying. Real quick, and I know that was supposed to be the last thing, I forgot the scene where Jordan, Chloe and the twins were eating ice cream, and Jordan just came out and told Chloe, hey, you gonna have to stay away from my mom. Chloe, I think this is a deal breaker. If you do not let his mom go, and I mean, not saying you don't have a good relationship, but don't be over there all the time and don't tell her all y'all business. I think he's not going to be able to take it, and he probably will leave, because that's a deal breaker for him. He doesn't want his mom in his business like that. I think he genuinely loves you. We know he's probably going to ask you to be engaged, and I do hope y'all make it, work it out. All right, and that's my take of Hard and Hustle, Houston, and the Bell Collectives down there in Jacksonville. Now, what I was discussing earlier about fandom, I'm going to say this. Don't get in my comments I mean, you can get in comments, but I don't respond to negative stuff. I don't fight people in comments. And for a while, my channel, usually I have good comments, but there are some people who are so into a certain TV show that's filmed down there in Alabama, begins with an H. I'm gonna leave it at that. Y'all know who I'm talking about. Um, that are so obsessed with that show. If you say anything, imagine me of all people. I am very unbiased. I don't, I tell you, I don't have a dog in either one of these fights. I don't know these people personally. I do my commentary based on what I see on the TV screen. Anything outside of that screen or that hit the editing room floor, I don't know about. So I try to be fair. And when I say that, I say it, I'm fair. If this week I like Portia, next week I may hate Portia. And I don't mean hate her per se. I mean, I didn't like what she did on the screen or in that particular episode. And I may talk crap about her, but I don't try to be disrespectful. I don't try to call people out their names. Now, my older stuff, I might have said some stuff because I was just like, but now I'm kind of like, you know what? This is the same wash, rinse, and repeat on all of these shows. A group of black women get together as a girl group. Somebody start finding out the secrets. You don't have, you lying about your life. You bankrupt. Your husband or fiance got a woman on the side or a baby on the side. She lied about this. They getting a divorce. They're not together. You telling each other secrets. This is the same formula for every show. And then all the women on the show happen to all be bosses or own their own businesses, and they all successful and rich, allegedly. Pinky Cole. Okay. So I don't know what's real or what's fake. But what I do know is you air this on the TV screen and made yourself a public figure, then we can talk and say what we choose to say about you. But I try not to get all into the depths of it. I don't do internet detective stuff. I watch the show, I put up my video, and then I go on about the rest of my day. I don't ask for money yet. I haven't asked nobody to cash at me. I haven't asked nobody to Venmo me. I have not even my channel ain't even monetized. So I don't make no money off of nobody, no matter who I talk about. Okay. And I don't care because technically, God has blessed me and put me in a place where financially I don't really need the money. And I'm not saying extra money is great, but I can still live the same life I live, whether I get monetized or not. Let's just say it, put it above. And I'm going to say this. There are so many people on social media, on these YouTube stations that I watch personally, enjoy watching. I may or may not be subscribed to their channels that have products. And I order all the time because I support my people. I don't hate nobody. Like I said before, I've got products from Canvas Beauty for 7-Eleven. I got a Queen Sheba hat. I Somebody on one of the other shows had a person on there. I ordered some t-shirts from there because I like it. I've got stuff from Reese Waters. I love watching his shows. I got one of his shows, Who Raised Y'all, one of his t-shirts. So I support my people all the time. That doesn't mean I don't like other cultures, but I support my people because I know how hard it is for us to get to a certain level in society, even on this YouTube channel. These people put their work in getting their viewership up. So I do support that. I've cashed out people before when they was taking money for certain things. That doesn't bother me because I believe in the Bible and I believe in God and I understand that we are to be kind to each other. I know we don't always see that going on in this country right now because of this administration, but operate with kindness. That's all I say. Move with kindness and it will always come back to you. All right. So that's all I'm saying. There is a certain fan base from a show filmed in Alabama that sometimes go over. And like I said, I've had comments, one or two, that I was like, oh, okay. I don't argue with people. I thank you for the comments. I thank you for engaging because that helps my channel. But y'all got to realize, unless you know these people personally, it just looks weird when you go that hard in the paint. Support them, buy their products. That's cool. But you out here fighting their battles for them is crazy to me. Unless it's something personal to you that maybe you experienced that in your life. I can understand the hurt and the pain because some people have went through a lot of hurt and pain on these shows, and it may be familiar to you, the pain and the hurt because you went through the same thing, so you can relate. That's fine. But the person who did that to that person is not the person who did it to you. Okay? I don't like the way some of these people move at all, but I don't know them. Okay. And I wish everybody the best. And I'm going to say, for example, I'm just using Destiny out of the, top of my head. Allegedly, nothing against Destiny. Destiny, I couldn't stay. I did not like Destiny in the early years of Huntsville because I just felt like she was doing the main character wrong. I'm like, girl, that's your friend. How you treating her like that? But I just commentate on what I see. She left the show, came back. Um, she still kind of had some issues going on. And I'm like, God, Destiny's really not my favorite person, but I don't know her personally. So I did my commentary on how she displayed herself on the TV. She was not my favorite person for several years on that show based on how she was being edited and placed on the television screen. But this particular year, they took a turn, and I call it the reinvention of destiny. She's being edited better. She actually looks like she cares. She still has that Destiny Detroit spice in her, and it'll go off every now and then. But to be honest, the way they're showing her this year makes her look more of an actual regular person who's going through some stuff. She's hustling. She's taking care of her dad. Her mom got issues. She's checking the Scots whenever she get the chance. And I'm like, you know what? I like the way they reinvented Destiny because at the end of the day, it's called growth. And if people can change and grow, I appreciate that. And I'm going to give them their props. I'm not going to say she's not a good person. I don't know her. But right now on the show, she is displaying a better human being than she did previous seasons, is what I'm saying. So I'm not going to still be like, I can't stand. Look at she do trying to find something negative about her every episode when I'm seeing a lot of positive stuff. Is she still popping off? Yes, she still got a little smart mouth. Yes, but I see some other stuff with her that I say, Destiny may have grown. Now, did it cost her some things, relationships and stuff like that? Probably so. And maybe she's learned from that and she realizes I need to pick and choose my friends better. And I need to stop trying to fight my friends' battles and let them fight them themselves. I think that's the lesson Destiny learned. And that's just an example. So, with that being said, just be kind to each other. It's a TV show, people. It ain't that deep, at least not for me. And we know for the most part, they putting on a lot of these scenes anyway. Like some of this stuff ain't really true. They just putting these things on. Just to get viewership and get hype about the show. I don't believe half the stuff they do or say they believe their damn self. You mean to tell me Maurice really thought we believed he hit a pole, a tree, an animal? The ambulance showed up, took him to the hospital. He had a concussion. He got released and went to jail. And nobody at the hospital said, Kimmy, your husband laying here with a concussion. And then all of a sudden, Kimmy gets up. Oh, I went down there. She picked him up from the jail, this and that. But before, if you look back, she said she didn't know where he was at. She didn't, what was going on. Whatever. You know what I'm saying? It's just a show where people kind of keep getting their lies straight. Even with Martell, he may be like, oh, she's lying on me. She's doing this. She's doing that. This and that. And then he get on the show and he and scenes talking about he's sad. He regret what he did. He wish he was still in that marriage or whatever the case may be. That's what he says on the show. Now, when he goes home to whoever, he may say, hey, I'm going to say this on the show just to make the scenes. It's not true or whatever. I'm just going to say this. Or let me tell you, I said this on the show just to get some viewership. We don't know. I don't know. But when I commentate about it, I'm commentating about that's what he said on the show. That's what he said on the show. I'm sad. I miss my family. Da da da. I made a mistake. He says all of that. He wish he can do it over again. He says that. Go look at the shows. Is he still in love with her? I don't know. He could be doing it for viewerships, clicks and views. I don't know. So that's why I say I do my commentary based on what airs. That's it. I'm not an internet detective. I'm not getting nobody's personal life. I'm not pulling up nobody's corporate. It ain't got nothing to do with me. This is for entertainment purposes only, as far as I'm concerned. I don't care about the rest. And I'm sad I had to get that deep with y'all, but sometimes y'all, we have to get to reality. Like this is just fun for a lot of us. Now I know there's a lot of people who make millions and millions and millions of dollars doing content. I know people who just do content for a living, no other job. Great, God bless you. But I don't do this to make a living, and I don't do this as a job. I do it. I'll just be honest. I like doing it as a hobby to talk about the shows and interact with people who watch the same shows that I watch outside of my household. That's all. And with that being said, I hope everybody had a wonderful Black excellent weekend. This weekend was absolutely amazing. Everybody all over the country was celebrating Juneteenth. And I know y'all haters out there, what about Juneteenth? We don't care. We gonna celebrate it. And I'm glad it's getting as big as it's getting nationwide. Because us in Texas been celebrating Juneteenth for a long time. We people down here. Okay. Also, the President Obama's library opening, awesome. People were having a ball out there, just really enjoying themselves. All the footage. I wish if I'd have known it was gonna be that great or that big, I'd have got a ticket to Chicago and went up there myself. But I'm still gonna go see it. And last but not least, the World Cup. If you're in a city that happens to be hosting the World Cup, it is amazing. Okay, they down here in Texas. It's amazing how all of these people from all over the world are coming to America and just, in awe of how America is, how beautiful it is, and everything else. And we know they're in the touristy areas. It ain't like we sending them down there to Harry Hines, Oak Cliff to see the real Dallas. But you know what I'm saying? They're, in the cities and eating good and enjoying the sightseeing. We appreciate that. It was a weekend where we could just enjoy ourselves and not pay attention to that noise up there in DC, even though they kept trying to butt in a little bit with bull crap about Iran and the Obama library is ugly and all that. They gonna be who they be. Negative Nancy's ain't going nowhere. Okay, it's always gonna be negative people here who gonna steal joy stealers. They're gonna, suck the wind out of your balloon or the air out your balloon. You know what I'm saying? They don't want to see joy or black excellence or black joy or even the country just getting along at a World Cup game. They gotta throw some controversy in it because that's what they live off. They live in a state of chaos 24/7 and they don't know how to operate when everything is nice, quiet, and smooth. And I hate to say it, but that's pretty much how they act. So hope everybody enjoyed their weekend. I hope everybody, got people who are just getting into the Juneteenth. I think this is what maybe the third or fourth year that they made it a national holiday. I hope y'all understand what it's about. Ask anybody in Texas, they'll tell you what it's about. If you don't know, do your research. But it is a great holiday and it's really our 4th of July. That's all I'm saying. Hispanics got Cinco de Mayo. We get Juneteenth. You got other people who have months that are they cultures that they actually celebrate. That's our day. All right. And with that being said, I know I went long, but hey, it is what it is. This is Gen X Nation, and I want you guys, as always, go out and have a great rest of your day. Peace, and I'm out.